The motel whispered warnings. David Parker's car rolled to a stop in the gravel parking lot of a dimly lit roadside motel. The long drive had drained every ounce of his energy, and the thought of driving any farther felt like a death sentence. A flickering "no vacancy" sign buzzed above him, but desperation overrode hesitation. He pushed open the door to the motel's office, the bell jingling as he stepped inside. Behind the counter, a middle-aged man with sunken eyes and a wrinkled shirt sat thumbing through a tattered magazine. He didn't bother looking up. "Hey," David said, rubbing his eyes. "You got any rooms left? I've been driving for hours, man. Just need a place to crash for the night." "Sorry," the man replied flatly. "No vacancy." David sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Come on, there's got to be something. I'll take anything." The clerk finally glanced up, sizing him up for a moment before speaking. "Well, we do have 2 rooms, but trust me, you don't want them. 13A and 13B. Guests say they're haunted." David chuckled, shaking his head. "Haunted? Seriously? Look, I don't believe in ghosts. I just need a bed. I'll take 13B. The clerk hesitated, his gaze lingering on David for a moment longer than was comfortable. "Your call, buddy, but don't say I didn't warn you." He slid an old brass key across the counter. The tag read 13B and felt strangely cold in David's hand. David trudged down the hallway, the air growing heavier with each step. Room 13B was at the very end, its door slightly warped and paint peeling. He unlocked it and stepped inside, greeted by a musty smell and dim, yellowed lighting. The room was nothing special, just a bed, a dresser, and a small TV, but it would do. Tossing his bag onto the chair, David collapsed onto the bed, exhaling deeply. Finally, as he closed his eyes, a faint whisper drifted from behind the headboard. "Get out before midnight, before it's too late." David's eyes fluttered open. He listened for a moment but shrugged it off. "Thin walls," he muttered. "Probably someone in the next room." He turned over, pulling the blanket tighter around him, and let exhaustion take over. The whispers continued, soft but persistent, weaving through his dreams like a warning he couldn't quite grasp. Morning light seeped through the cracked blinds, pulling David from a restless sleep. The whispers were still there, more urgent now. "It's too late now. You had to midnight to get out." David sat up, groaning. "Geez, people don't sleep around here." He shook his head, got dressed, and packed up his things. As he stepped out into the crisp morning air, he made his way back to the front desk, where the clerk was nursing a cup of coffee. "Morning," David greeted. "Just a heads up, people in 13A were talking all night. Kept me up." The clerk froze, his face losing color. Slowly, he set down his cup. "There's no one in 13A, he said quietly. David frowned. "What do you mean?" "I heard them. All night. I told you. We don't rent out that room." The clerk's voice dropped. "It's been closed for years. Ever since a guest." He trailed off, his eyes darkening. "Guy in 13A killed himself. Left a note saying he heard voices. Ever since, anyone who stays in 13A or 13B hears them too." David felt a chill creep up his spine. "You're serious?" "What did they say?" the clerk asked, leaning forward. David hesitated. "They kept telling me to get out before midnight, that I was in danger." The clerk nodded grimly. 13A is on the other side of the building, he said. "The wall behind your headboard. It faces the woods. No one could have been there." David's heart pounded in his chest as the realization hit him. The whispers weren't from another guest. They were from something else. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through the room. The air grew heavy, and David felt a presence behind him. His skin prickled as the familiar voice whispered once more, right in his ear. "David, You shouldn't have stayed. The voice deepened, turning guttural. You can't leave us now. David stumbled back, panic gripping him. Without another word, he bolted out the door and into his car, starting the engine with shaking hands. Gravel sprayed as he sped out of the lot, heart racing. As he drove down the empty highway, the radio crackled with static. Then, through the noise, the whisper returned. We're not finished yet, David. We'll always be with you until the end. David's knuckles turned white on the steering wheel, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The laughter that followed echoed in his ears long after he disappeared into the distance. Sometimes it's better to keep driving than stopping at a rundown roadside motel.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. And turn on notifications to never miss an episode.